Well, let's check in again on what's happening on these US elections. And what we can tell you is not much has changed, but a lot has changed since we've come on air. I mean, where things were slow, it has now totally gone to a point where just from the votes that are in already, it certainly is looking like one of those that'll be a Trump victory. 247 of those votes, the 270 votes that they're looking for, are now in Trump's hands, 214 for Kamala Harris. So that's something that needs to be already emphasized here. I mean, if you go by predictions, and we do a lot of predictions here with South African elections as well, you remember what we were predicting, and let me tell you, we did quite well on those predictions. Well, I'm going by a New York Times prediction, and they are basically saying that at this point, it's a 95% chance that this is Trump's election. So they are predicting that he will eventually land up with 306 of those electoral college votes, and Harris 232. Now that is quite a difference. What does this mean for markets? Well, I can tell you something, that there's a lot to talk about when it comes to the markets. And what we were saying previously is that this may have already been priced in by markets, and markets are sort of ahead of us, aren't they? We've got Tshepo with us, who's going to be talking about this. Tshepo, of course, here is heading up economics and business at the SABC, and I mean, we've been talking about this, but the reality is that this was, from what it looks like, been forecast by markets that this was going to be a Trump win.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at how the Wall Street finished overnight, almost 1%, more or less around that, up. And you could tell that although there was a lot of anxiety and uncertainty in the financial markets, clearly his victory had already been priced in. You look at the futures, the US stock futures in Asian trade, they point to another higher Wall Street. So we should expect later in the day when Wall Street opens that it will probably continue to be on that momentum, remain high again, as we have seen.
And I think it's important, and I'm going to interrupt you there because we talk about futures, and I want to speak because perhaps viewers don't know what we're talking about, but the reality is that when it came to the two candidates, probably the strongest point to look out for a victory for Trump was going to be on futures, it was going to be on the dollar, and it was going to be on Bitcoin, which I know you're going to be getting to. So futures and an increase in futures is certainly something that is more favorable towards the Trump side.
Absolutely. So it means that investors are saying, we're happy with Trump, we will embrace him as the new president of the United States. But also there are other dynamics that are playing part in the U.S. I think the other one is the rate decision. We expect the FOMC to announce an interest rate, and the market is already priced in about 25 basis point cut. That also is adding to the impetus in the financial markets. You've touched on the Bitcoin, but I just want to touch on the bond market in the U.S. That has actually been one of the major driver in the market in terms of the fear factor. I mean, we've seen the 10-year bond yield there. I think you know, it increased to around, I think, 12 basis points. And remember, this is a measure of risk in the market. The more the yield, it means that as a country, you pay more for your debt. So this is a 10-year debt in terms of the treasuries or the US treasuries. But of course, I think somehow the market has put that aside and look beyond that. So we will see going forward, how are the treasuries going to react to this victory, if indeed everyone is confirmed. But there's still, if you look at the treasury, there's still some concern that perhaps the tariff issue will push up inflation, and that will weigh in on the treasury market or the bond market. So that remains a major concern in the US economy. The Bitcoin, of course.
This one is interesting.
It's surged.
People still think about Bitcoin and this thing,
Sure,
this thing that is so powerful, and yet we know so little
absolutely.
about.
Look at
I mean,
it.
what are you
Look at
showing
it.
me here?
74,294.
That's
It's a huge
incredible.
jump. Of course, it's kind of stabilizing at that particular level, and we're talking about an 8% increase.
Wow.
That's a huge increase that we have seen. Of course, we know Trump has said that he's going to position South Africa as a crypto capital of the world.
Yeah.
So he's been very favorable, and he's been propping it up and being supportive to the crypto market. And of course, they just love it. And then people are going in and they expect a lot of good things in that particular market. But the other issue is the rand dollar.
Yeah.
The rand has weakened. The dollar has been strengthening overnight, especially in the US, in the Asian trade. So we somehow have lost that momentum that we had yesterday. We are concerned that we are very close to that 17 rand 18 to 80 to the dollar. And I'm concerned that if the dollar continues to increase, if you look at the dollar index is up 1.5%. So the dollar has actually been strengthening against a number of currencies, even currencies in developed markets. Yeah. So there is a lot of bias towards the dollar. So a lot of money is going back to the US and is leaving emerging markets, but not just emerging markets, but even some developed markets. So we will see when the market closes if the picture is likely to change. Is the rand going to be under pressure against the US dollar as the dollar continues to gain? And is the announcement in the US of the outcome of the election will have any significant bearing on the rand as the dollar continues to increase?
So I'll give you just some key points here as well as Tshepo wraps up here. Some more look at the volatility of the markets and how things have changed here. So we know that Trump's a businessman. We know that. That's not anything of a surprise. And he himself has got a lot of interests. Well, listen to this one interest. Shares of Trump Media and Technology Group. This group, we know it well. It has surged 10%.
That's
okay?
right.
It's up. It's very happy, as you can imagine. Another currency which is not happy is the Mexican peso. And that's, again, not a surprise. That has literally dropped 2% overnight, which is a massive drop for that Mexican peso. And Europe as well, also a little bit worried. The euro not very strong as well. And why? Because of trade tariffs. So there is so much at play at the moment as this picture becomes redder and redder as the minutes pass by. So thank you very much, Tshepo. Thanks for joining us. Let's take a break.